Nancy, last time we talked about vulnerability. Does that feeling kind of lead into a sense of not measuring up?
Yes, it does, Carolyn. It's not uncommon for people who feel vulnerable to also feel that they are not good enough. And that can translate into that they're not deserving of things, items that keep them safe during this pandemic. When people feel not good enough, they have a tendency to compare themselves to others, and compare themselves to others not in good ways, but in how they're less than. And that leads to a feeling of shame. People who don't feel good enough, particularly if they've suffered from this since childhood, will react in two ways to this pandemic. One is they will start hoarding items and feel embarrassed about it, or they will not protect themselves by getting enough items to feel safe. Now, I'm not saying that everybody that hoards items feels not good enough. You feel not good enough if you feel shame about hoarding the items. We all have that harsh inner critic, that critic that runs through our mind, that says things to us that we would never say to someone else. So the goal of learning to feel good enough is learning to quiet that inner critic. Lori Deschênes had a great quote. It said, "We can't hate ourselves into loving ourselves." So we can't hate ourselves into loving ourselves. So if you have a harsh inner critic, it's going to be very hard for you to feel that you are good enough. There are some things you can do about it, however. Again, not that we're going to solve this problem with this next exercise, but it will begin helping you quiet and calm down that inner voice.
So is it possible to challenge our inner critic?
Well, in a way, Carolyn, what I'm going to recommend is we're going to go back to the very first video and we're going to do the breathing exercises again, because the reason we do this prior to every exercise is to be able to calm that anxiety brain. So again, put yourself in a comfortable position, arms and legs uncrossed. Breathe in through your nose and exhale through your mouth. Again, breathe in through your nose and exhale through your mouth. I want you to do this for about 10 minutes. And when you start feeling relaxed, I want you to think of 5 things that you like about yourself. If you have trouble thinking of 5 things that you like, think of something objective where you've been successful. It could be a project at school. It could be something from work. It can be experiences with friends. But think of 5 things you like about yourself. 5 things you value about your personality. I want you to think of those 5 things, and as you do, you're going to find that your inner critic is going to argue with you. The challenge is not to latch on to those inner critic thoughts. And if you have trouble, change the language of the inner critic. Imagine telling what the inner critic says to you to somebody else, but do it in a way that is kindful and loving. Okay? Practice this every day and be aware of that mind chatter, that inner critic, and as you become aware of it, begin turning the words around to see how you're valued. Thanks, Carolyn.